Elementary motion tracking. Alright, so I want to cover this because the simple fact it's very cool and it just makes students want to learn this stuff. So let's import file. And here I have some footage. This footage is very boring. It's probably 5 o'clock in the morning here, so it's not like I can grab anything very neat right now. But that being said, you get a picture of all my reference material laying on a shelf. I know, hold the excitement, right? We're going to use this for motion tracking. And I don't need the whole clip, so what I'm going to do here is take this, delete it off the track, double click it, and then I can set an in and out. In this case, I want the in to be here, and about 10 seconds in, I want the out. Good deal. So now what I can do is take this and use it as the in and out for this. Okay, again, if I want to do that, I can click and drag it to the composition window, and it brings it into a brand new composition where it's only 10 seconds long. So that's kind of how you trim footage. You just bring it into a new composition. Now, what we're going to do is look at this for a second and find a single spot. And this spot is this colored pencil that's laying up on the counter or on this shelf. So if I zoom in really tight, you can see that there is a color pencil here. And what we're going to do is motion track that one little dot which sticks out. Okay, to do that, we double click on the footage and go to track motion right next to paragraph. We get this and we can drag it over to the area, and you can see that it enlarges the area, and I can choose that pencil. Alright, well, now what happens? Well, I could zoom in if I wanted to make sure that it is in fact 100% on the square, and I'm using Alt and wheel mouse to do so. And then if I go to options, what I want to do is choose RGB, because this is an RGB change more than a luminance change. Okay, whenever it's a weird color like that. And now what I can do is say track the motion. So to do that, I go in here and say analyze forward. Now being 10 seconds long, it won't take that long, but I would say if you're just new to motion tracking, please keep your time down to, I don't know, anything less than 10 seconds would be good, because yeah, there is some things that you have to learn the hard way, and that is the color and how things move. Okay, how to move the camera. So what I'm going to do is let this process, and in the next video I'll show you what we can do with this new data that's being tracked out. Alright, now that we have that motion tracked out, that point stays in place no matter what, and that's important. So now we're going to have to figure out something that we can put there on that point, something that could rest on the shelf. Well, I went out and bought this Coke can, which is pretty lame. But what I want to do is see how the shot is like this orange-ish type of deal, but the Coke can's white. That's why I chose it, is because the white balance of the film does not match the white balance of the actual piece. So I thought that would be pretty inventive to be able to take the Coke can and put it in the scene. To do that, I'm going to do something on a Mac. Take a screenshot. It's called Shift. Okay, so Shift Command 4 allows you to take a screenshot. Okay, here we're going to go back into Photoshop and open that up. That's on the desktop now, by the way. So you can see screenshot. And it's just this little square of brown. Well, I'm going to copy this color. I'm going to take the fill tool and copy it using Alt. And then I'm going to go into here and make a new layer and set it over the top. Then what I'm going to do is look through and see if I can find a light source that will grant me that same type of look. Okay, and I'm seeing pin light might work with the opacity lowered down. Okay, and then I'm looking at the white of the scene here. Okay, also I'm going to bring out an exposure layer because the scene seems a little underexposed. So I'm going to lower this down. And there we go. We have a nice pseudo kind of fit. The next thing I need to do is go in and cut the can out from the background. Well, to do that, I'm going to use the Magic Wand tool because it's cheap and effective. Okay. Here I'm going to just use sample all layers, and I'm going to use something like 5 as a tolerancy. There we go. Now if I zoom out, you'll see that I have everything but the can. So I'm going to select inverse, edit cut, edit copy merge, and then edit paste. This will bring all the layers to the very surface, and I can turn all these other things off. And now I have a can that kind of matches the color of white here in the scene and has a transparent background. Okay, I can now save this as can and as a Photoshop file. Alright, let's bring this into the composition. Here, we're just going to go File, Import, File, and choose Can PSD. I'm going to say Merge Layers, and there it is. So if I click and drag this can out to the scene, or down here, while we do that, there we go, it's going to be really big. I'm going to lock the other layer so I don't touch it, and this layer I'm just going to work a couple seconds into it and take and make it smaller. Now I like to scale things very carefully. See how you can warp it out if you're not careful. Another way to scale is go down here to transform, and then you can scale using this. And then scaling using this, it scales it both uniformly. So there we go, and I'll put that on the shelf. Okay, and then I'm just going to zoom in on the area. Alright, see that point? This is the point I'm talking about on the pencil. What I'm going to do is sort of offset this point to match it. So this is the tracking point or the center point of the object. So to double click on it, I can now move this point anywhere I want. In this case, I want to move it here. And then go back to the composition. I can then move it down to match that pencil lid. Alright, so there we go. It's resting on the shelf. Now I need to feed the data in to it from the tracking. Well, to do that, I can just double click on the actual MTS file that I tracked out. and unlock it. There we go. This MTS file has this motion track, and now what I can do is go edit target. Well, the target's going to be the can. It's already chosen, and hit OK. And then I hit apply. I want this in both X and Y. That way if it moves around just a little bit, it compensates. And now when I scrub across the can or the footage, you can see the can does not move. It stays in place with the footage. So if you ever wanted to play a prank on your brother, and he's an older brother, I don't have one, but I could imagine that I would be a pretty deadly brother to have. You could imagine how many things you could superimpose into his room that's not supposed to be there. And this is a great way to do silly things like that. So that is motion tracking. And we'll look at motion tracking a little bit more in the future, but for right now I wanted to cover it at a very fundamental state, and that's what this can is doing. So enjoy.